All right, guys, welcome to a brand new week of digital NTI learning on Google Classroom. We're going to use what we learned last week about author's purpose, author's point, and finding reasons to help us with our stuff for this week. So our brand new content for this week is going to be talking about comparing and contrasting. And these words are maybe new to you, but they should be a little bit familiar because whenever we learned about fables and folktales and morals and central message, we did talk about comparing and contrasting. So hopefully you remember at least a little bit. And if not, hopefully at the very end, you will be able to know what both of these mean. So if you look at the very bottom of the slide right here, the very first two questions that you see is what is the same and what is different. That's all that these two words mean. So compare means you're going to talk about the same. Contrast means you're going to talk about what is different. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Comparing, when you tell about how two things are the same. Okay, so that's all that compare means is same. And three questions that you can ask yourself when reading is how are these the same? How are these similar, or how are these alike? These words right here, same, similar, and alike, are all synonyms. That means the same. They all mean the exact same thing. So if I'm going to talk about comparing, I'm talking about how two things are similar or the same. And let's actually do a little bit of practice with that. So let's look at these two objects. So as you can see, this object right here is a banana, and this object right here is an orange, okay? So first off, I know that there are probably going to be a few similarities and a few differences. So I know that I can compare and contrast these. So if you look right here in the middle, I'm going to give you some sentence starters, and I want you to think about these as you're brainstorming some ways that these are similar. I'm going to do one with you together, and then I want you to pause the video. So if you look at the bottom, it says these are alike because. So I could say these are alike because they are both fruit. That is one way that these items are similar. The next one says they both. So I could say they both are fruit. That's another way that these items are similar. The next one says they are the same because they are both fruit. So that is just three different ways to say that. And you can use these if you would like. You don't have to. This is just kind of giving you some ideas as you brainstorm, okay? So I want you now to pause the video, and I want you to think of another way that these items are similar. So you can't use that they're fruit. I want you to think of another way that these items are similar. So go ahead and pause the video. Think of one way that these are similar, and then we'll come back together and we'll talk about it. All right, hopefully you paused the video and you came up with your own reason on a way to compare both of these items. So as we talked about, this is a banana, this is an orange. That's the two items we're talking about. One way to compare these is that you can eat both of them. So clearly they are both edible. We know you can eat these for breakfast. You can sometimes eat these for lunch or for a snack. That is one way that they are similar. Number two, they're both fruit. That's one that I gave earlier. We know that both of these belong in the same food group. They're both fruit. The third one is you have to peel both of them. So both of them have a peel on the outside that you do not want to eat. An example of a fruit that you could eat the peel on is an apple, but you cannot eat the peel on a banana, and you also cannot eat the peel on an orange. So that is another way that they are similar. All right, so we're going to talk about contrasting now. So contrasting is when you tell what is different about two or more objects. And there's really only one question. How are they different? Or you could say, what is not the same about them? So this is the opposite of comparing. So compare is when they're the same. Contrast is when they are different. So now we're going to use the same objects, a banana and an orange, and we're going to contrast these objects. And I've given you some more sentence starters at the bottom that you are free to use if you would like. So I want you to read these together with me. These are not the same because, they are different because, or one is blank and the other is blank. So I'm going to give you an example with my reason, and then I want you to pause the video and do your own. So for example, these are not the same because a banana is yellow and an orange is orange. They are different because the banana is yellow, the orange is orange. Or one is yellow and the other is orange. Now, I want you to pause the video and I want you to come up with one way that you could contrast bananas and oranges. And remember, you can't use the color. All right, hopefully you came up with your own reason. We talked about earlier how bananas are yellow and oranges are orange. So that is one way to contrast these or tell how they are different. Another way that these items are different is bananas are yellow and oranges are orange. We know that those are two different colors, meaning that these are different. Number 2, oranges are juicy while bananas are not. Bananas are soft. So this is another way that these items are different. Another way that these items are different is their shape. Bananas are long and oranges are round. So these are 3 different ways that we could contrast bananas and oranges. All right, this is another way that we can compare and contrast. This is just something called a Venn diagram, and you may remember a Venn diagram, like I said earlier, from when we learned about fables and folktales. It's just an easy way to organize your thoughts. It looks a little difficult, but I promise it's not. There are some labels that we're going to go over in just a second, and we will actually do one together, but we're going to read through this first. So it says, using a Venn diagram is a great way to organize thoughts. So organizing your thoughts while comparing and contrasting. So in the middle, you are going to put how the objects are alike. So in the middle, you will put the objects that are the same or comparing will go right here in the middle. And we've talked about whenever we do Venn diagrams, there are always 2 circles, and in the middle is called where they overlap. So this part where they overlap is where they will be the same. Okay? Now, the part on the outside is where you put objects that are different, so contrasting. So this will be object 1, and this part over here will be object 2. As you can tell, these parts are not touching, so these are ways that they are different. And we're actually going to use the same objects we used earlier to actually get a little bit of practice doing this, and then you can add some of your own points if you would like. All right, so we're going to use the same objects as earlier. So whenever we talk about oranges and bananas, okay, so I know that both of them are going to go on my Venn diagram, but the part that overlaps are going to be the things that are similar about both. So for example, oranges and bananas are both fruit. Oranges and bananas are both edible, which means you can eat them, and oranges and bananas both have a peel. I put these in the middle where the circles overlap. Okay, sorry, I'm not the best artist here. All right, now we're going to think about only oranges. So what are some qualities about oranges that are not similar to bananas? So for example, oranges are round. I'm only going to put this under oranges. I'm not going to put this over here under bananas, okay? So oranges are also juicy. Oranges are also orange. So I know that these 3 things are going to go under the category of orange. All right. Over here, I'm only going to put qualities about bananas. So I know that bananas are long, I know bananas are soft, and I know bananas are yellow. I know all of these are different from this side. So if I were going to look, remember in the middle is where we compare, okay? And on the outside is where we do our contrasting. So you can do this with any 2 objects. I would actually like you right now to pause the video again and to make your own Venn diagram on a piece of paper and to compare your own 2 objects. And then you can share with your parent, your grandparent, brother or sister, or you can even take a picture and send it through Remind. All right, so we're going to go back to comparing and contrasting, but we're going to bump it up a notch. This is the most important part when you're comparing and contrasting, is being able to read 2 different passages and compare and talk about how the passages are similar, and contrast and talk about how they're different. So we're going to read both of these passages, but before we do that, I want to do just a quick little picture walk. If you look at this first passage right here, I see that there are bats the second passage right here, I see that there is an owl. I know both of those animals can fly, and I know that that is one way that these are probably going to be similar, okay? So I'm going to look at the title of the first passage, and it says a nocturnal flying mammal. The title of the second passage says a nocturnal flying bird. So there is actually only one word in there that's different. But both passages have nocturnal and flying. So those are going to be ways that these passages are similar. So now we're actually going to read, and we're going to figure out some ways that these articles are similar, which means compare, and ways that they are different, which means contrast. All right, so let's get started on passage number 1. I would love it if you would follow along with your finger while I'm reading. Bats are unique mammals because unlike most mammals, they have wings and can fly. Bats are also unique because they are nocturnal. They stay awake at night and sleep during the day. Bats use echolocation to get around in the dark. This is when they use noises that bounce off of objects to know what is around them and if there is any prey nearby. All right, so some key points in this article are that bats can fly and that they have wings. Okay, so I'm going to underline that right here. Bats are also nocturnal, and nocturnal is a really big word. You may or may not know what this means. If you don't, we can go back in the passage and we can find some evidence. So it says bats are also unique because they are nocturnal. They stay awake at night and sleep during the day. So I know the sentence right after is probably going to tell me that big vocabulary word. So now we know nocturnal means that animals sleep during the day and stay awake at night. Another key point in this article is that they use echolocation to get around at night. So if I go back to the passage and I highlight echolocation, I can kind of find out what this means. So it says that they use echolocation to get around in the dark, okay? This is when they use noises that bounce off of objects to know what is around them and if there's any prey nearby. And I know what prey means, and I know that this means that bats are going to do a lot of hunting at night to find their prey, okay? It also says in the passage that its ears help them hunt because it says that noise bounce off of objects, and this helps them know where their prey are. So I can gather information from the passage and infer that their ears are going to really help them hunt. All right, so let's look at article number 2, and then we will do some comparing and contrasting. So on article number 2, says most owls are nocturnal. This means that they sleep during the day and stay awake during the night. During the night, they do their hunting for food. Hunting at night is better for owls because during the day they would have to compete with other birds that hunt, like eagles and hawks. An owl's eyes help it while hunting at night. They have very large and strong eyes. So if I think about this passage, I can already pull out a few things that are similar in ways that I can compare. So I also learned that owls are nocturnal. So I'm going to go up and highlight orange on both of these because that is one way that these are similar. It also tells me again the definition of nocturnal, which means they sleep during the day and stay awake at night. During the night, they do their hunting for food. Here's another way that they are similar. Remember we talked about bats use echolocation at night to find prey? Well, owls do their hunting at night because it is better so they don't have to have competition with other birds, okay? So they both hunt at night. It also says that an owl's eyes help them hunt at night. Well, if I go back to my first passage, I remember it says bats' ears help them hunt. And now I know that an owl's eyes help them hunt. So there are a few ways that these are similar, and there are a few ways that they are different. And you're going to do this today with your practice, with your exit slip, and for the rest of the week. Don't forget, compare means the same and contrast means different. Happy